In Venezuela, a new flight carrying 208 repatriated migrants arrived in the country as part of their return to the homeland plan. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum presented 18 strategies to strengthen the Plan Mexico, an initiative to boost the national economy in the new global context. And South Korea's Constitutional Court has officially removed President Yoon Suk-yeol from office. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from teleSUR studios in Caracas, Venezuela. We are beginning with the news. Stay with us. On Friday morning, 208 Venezuelan migrants arrived in the country as part of the return to the homeland plan. With this flight, there are now more than 2,000 Venezuelan nationals that have returned in 2025 through the humanitarian plan that provides dignity and security. This is the third flight of migrants landing in the country in the past 2 days. It is known that the migrants who arrive in a U.S. plane will go through a process of criminal and medical checks and then be taken directly home. Let us remember that those migrants who have returned to the country in the last few weeks have been victims of the fascist plans of the U.S. government, which is developing a plan of persecution and kidnapping against Venezuelans who are on U.S. soil. And the Peruvian justice ratified the decision to annul the trial against political leader Keiko Fujimori for the alleged irregular financing of her 2011 and 2016 electoral campaigns. The Public Prosecutor's Office will have to restructure part of the investigation and refile the indictment, a process that could take between 1 and a year and a half. A judge will decide whether to open an oral trial for the cocktails case, in which Fujimori and 32 other people linked to her party, Fuerza Popular, are investigated for alleged illegal contribution to their campaigns. Among the alleged donors are the Brazilian construction company Odebrecht and several Peruvian economic conglomerates, although the Fujimorista party defends that the funds were raised through events with supporters during the campaigns. And violent clashes between rival gold mining groups in Bolivia have escalated, resulting in at least 6 fatalities. The confrontation, which involved the use of dynamite, highlights growing tensions within the country's booming artisanal and wildcat mining sector. The incident occurred in a region already marked by disputes over mining rights and environmental concerns, as miners compete for access to increasingly lucrative gold deposits. Bolivia has seen a surge in gold production in recent years, driven by rising gold prices and the expansion of small-scale mining operations. However, this boom has brought significant challenges, including environmental degradation and conflicts with indigenous communities over land and water contamination. And in Argentina, on Thursday, the Senate dealt a strong political blow to the far-right President Javier Milei by rejecting the 2 candidates he was trying to impose as Supreme Court justices. In a vote that was not close, the upper house rejected Judge Ariel Alijo, who obtained 43 votes against and only 27 in favor, and lawyer Manuel Garcia Mancilla, who obtained only 21 votes in favor versus 51 against. Even the allies of the Pink House voted no. Upon learning the result, President Milei rejected the decision, assuring that for the first time in history, the Senate of the nation has rejected the nominees proposed by the President for purely political reasons and not for reasons of suitability. We now have a first break coming up. Remember, you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We're going to be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum presented 18 strategies to strengthen Plan Mexico, a strategy with which the Mexican government seeks to boost the economy in the new global context. During the event, the Mexican president showed the strength of the country's economy with examples such as the jobs created in 2025 that will reach a record high of more than 22 million. She also highlighted the need to strengthen car manufacturing in Mexico and pointed out that the investment portfolio already exceeds $200 billion. Among the strategies presented, she also highlighted the creation of a program that will provide development and commercial banking facilities for micro and small businesses, and that 30% of these will have access to credit. And the documentary The Root of the Olive Tree, with testimonies of 5 Palestinian refugees in Cuba, was presented in Mexico. Antonio Aranda interviewed the director of this documentary and prepared the following report. Let's listen.
Cuba, un país bloqueado económicamente por Estados Unidos.
Cuba, a country economically blockaded by the United States, demonstrates to the world that solidarity with Palestine is possible and necessary, as shown in the documentary film The Root of the Olive Tree.
Cuba has been a country in extreme solidarity with the world and with Palestine. Cuban people are an example of the fact that one struggle does not have to invalidate the other. Cuba has been fighting for more than 60 years against a criminal blockade imposed by the United States, the same government that finances the genocide in Palestine. And while we continue to fight the blockade against our people, we support the Palestinian people with what we have. Cuba gives scholarships to Palestinian youths every year.
La obra detalla cómo jóvenes palestinos.
The film details how young Palestinians are educated in Cuban universities in order to return to their homeland and contribute to the resistance to genocide.
I continue to study every day because to study is to resist, to be a good ophthalmologist for my people. I continue to take advantage of all the spaces to talk about Palestine, to make more people know more about Palestine of the cause, and to show the reality as it is.
El documental se presenta en universidades.
The documentary is presented in universities and cultural centers to denounce the intensification of the genocide in the Gaza Strip as of October 7th, 2023.
Debatir sobre lo que sucede en Palestina.
Discussing what is happening in Palestine is necessary to generate empathy for their cause.
La lucha del pueblo palestino también nos une.
The struggle of the Palestinian people also unites us because we have a common enemy. The one that finances the genocide and the occupation in Palestine is the same one that has maintained the blockade on Cuba for more than 60 years, the same one that has now blockaded Venezuela, the same one that finances coups d'etat throughout Latin America.
El mismo que financia golpes de Estado en toda Latinoamérica.
Por su parte, en México hay quienes seguirán.
Mexico will continue to contribute to building ties of solidarity between the Palestinian people and Latin America.
We feel committed to make our last effort so that people don't stop talking about Palestine, so that people know the truth, because the disadvantage we have with the hegemonic media is terrible. So our main task is to spread the Palestinian cause through this documentary by showing everything we can.
Los datos más actuales del Ministerio de Sanidad palestino.
The current data from the Palestinian Ministry of Health indicate that the number of deaths since the beginning of the Israeli attacks on October 7th, 2023, amounts to more than 50,000 victims.
Antonio Aranda, teleSUR, Ciudad de México.
And the new tariffs imposed by Donald Trump on the world will not only affect the international economy, but could also be a setback for the United States itself. Our correspondent Henry Camelo from New York has a story.
La imposición de aranceles globales por parte de la administración Trump.
The imposition of global tariffs by the Trump administration has shaken world markets. After the announcement, the main stock markets closed lower due to the uncertainty of the economic and financial course of this country. China, the European Union, Japan, and South Korea announced retaliatory measures. However, economists expect the economic impact to be much less than anticipated.
En Estados Unidos sea mucho menor de lo que se anticipa.
Yo creo que al final del día el mercado se va a ajustar.
I think that at the end of the day the market will adjust. The other countries can no longer raise tariffs. So what the United States would do would be to raise them even more so that you no longer buy a German car and you end up buying a United States car. No. And that obviously is not going to benefit literally anyone.
No va a beneficiar literalmente a nadie.
Los aranceles para automóviles importados a Estados Unidos.
Tariffs for automobiles imported to the United States went into effect as of April 3rd, and sales have already plummeted, something that has dealership owners very worried.
Preocupados a los dueños de concesionarios.
They're very concerned that the cars are going to become unaffordable, and that's something that we're concerned about as well, because if the cars aren't affordable, then we can't help our customers. You know, that's our primary goal, is make sure that all our customers are served.
Con el nuevo arancel del 25% a los autos.
With the new 25% tariff on imported cars, U.S. consumers will be paying between $5,000 and $15,000 more for the purchase of a new car.
We are not going to be able to change our car. We are simply going to have to maintain it better, take better care of it, and move on, nothing more.
Según un estudio del Centro de Investigación de la Universidad Yale,
according to a study by the Yale University Research Center, these tariffs will hit the poorest families in the United States the hardest, who could experience a drop in income of up to 5.5%. In that sense, the so-called Liberation Day, for Democrat leaders, is the beginning of a new recession.
Es el inicio de una nueva recesión.
House Republicans, Senate Republicans, and Donald Trump haven't done a single thing to lower the cost of living in this country. Not a single bill, not a single executive order. In fact, Republicans are crashing the American economy in real time and driving us to a recession. This is not Liberation Day, it's Recession Day.
Y de igual manera coinciden economistas de todo el
And
país.
economists from all over the country agree, predicting an economic recession in the United States as a result of these new tariffs and the economic war that Trump has declared on the world.
Pablo Daniel Ho y Henry Camelo, teleSUR, Nueva York.
And the third International Transport and Logistics Fair 2025 is the commercial meeting point for transport and logistics professionals organized by the Chamber of Commerce of the Republic of Cuba. The third fair concluded on Thursday at the Pabexco Fairgrounds in Havana, which took place from April 1st to the 3rd. The event had spaces dedicated to the promotion of projects, investment opportunities in Cuba, the representation of exhibitors, as well as Cuban and foreign businessmen who have consolidated existing projects and those under negotiation. Key topics were addressed, such as sustainable mobility, efficiency in supply chains, commercialization, repair, manufacture of equipment, and the incorporation of new technologies in the sector. The main objective was the sustainable and resilient development of transportation and logistics in Cuba for a better service to the people and a competitive performance of the economy. We now have our second and final short break coming up. Before we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English, there you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage, and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. A final break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. In the landmark decision, South Korea's Constitutional Court has officially removed President Yoon Suk Yeol from office. The ruling, delivered on April 4, 2025, upheld the National Assembly's impeachment initiated in December 2024 following Yoon's brief declaration of martial law. The court found Yoon's actions unconstitutional, citing violations of basic rights and misuse of presidential powers. This historic move leads to the need of a new presidential election within 60 days. Yoon also faces ongoing legal challenges, including charges of insurrection. The decision has heightened tensions in South Korea, with significant public demonstrations both supporting and opposing Yoon's removal. And the near-bankrupt European Union continues to fund Ukraine's military while pursuing a unified line of sanctions against Russia. There are differences within the bloc. The details with Oleg Jasinski.
Every attempt at peace negotiations between the United States and Russia triggers a wave of panic among the European leaders. With the end of the war, they could lose not only their political project against Russia, Ukraine, but also their own source of income, since it is not clear where the military budget is going.
Europe has lost everything it had to lose. Whatever advantage it might have had, it let it lose, after a series of political mistakes which it still does not admit to this day. And judging by the statements issued, its leaders intend to continue to do so, to continue to support Ukraine as a political project directed against Russia, without understanding that, in fact, Ukraine is both an anti-Russian and an anti-European project. But unfortunately for them, they have not yet realized that.
But all have different economic interests. Germany, as the European Union's largest economy, is under the most pressure due to the loss of access to Russian energy resources and the offshoring of production to the United States. Poland and the Baltic countries take a tougher line on Russia and support continued aid to Ukraine, even if it hurts their economies.
It is necessary to understand that the European Union has made a strategic bet to get out of, I won't even say crisis, but this geoeconomic impasse. Because of the confrontation with Russia, they are up to the brink of war with Russia. It's not because they don't love us, although they don't. It's not because they support Ukraine, although they do. It is because they have no other options to get out of the geoeconomic impasse.
The European economy is stagnating. Inflation is high, interest rates are rising, and businesses are struggling due to high energy prices and falling demand. Social tensions are growing as people struggle to pay their bills and maintain their standard of living.
The question is who will take care of the money that will be allocated. In fact, even during the military actions, grants were allocated for the restoration of all sorts of things. Where is that money going? No one understands, because what is restored now? Even before the start of the special operation, they restored bridges that later fell down, bridges that in fact turned out not to have been restored. That is, they know how to embezzle money. If they want to, they will leave under their control as much of the territory of Ukraine as possible where they can get their share.
The creation of a coalition to send troops to Ukraine could divide the European Union, as not all member states would support such a decision. In conclusion, a worsening political crisis within the Union and a weakening of its position on the international stage, which has become even more evident with the arrival of Trump.
Se ha hecho aún más evidente. Oleg Yasinski, teleSUR, Moscú.
Following the devastating earthquakes that struck Myanmar on March 28, 2025, temporary hospitals have been established to treat victims as medical facilities are severely damaged and overwhelmed. In Naypyidaw, dozens of Bhutanese health workers collaborated with military medics to care for approximately 100 injured patients at a temporary hospital set up in a sports field. Similarly, in Mandalay, patients were transported on stretchers to makeshift medical tents operated by Russian medical volunteers. The situation in Myanmar remains dire, with thousands injured and in need of urgent medical care. The earthquakes have caused extensive destruction, damaging nearly half of the healthcare facilities in affected areas, including hospitals in Mandalay and Naypyidaw. And Peru is facing a serious crisis caused by heavy rains, floods, and landslides, which have left at least 5 people dead. These events have affected 20 of the country's 24 regions, with a total of 1,771 emergency events reported. The situation is particularly critical in regions such as Huancavelica and Nazca, where floods have destroyed homes and agricultural land. The Peruvian government has declared a state of emergency in 157 districts and has deployed troops, rapid intervention teams, and heavy machinery to mitigate the effects of the floods and ensure the operability of main roads. More than 57,000 people have been affected. Despite response efforts, the situation remains critical due to the continued rains that increase the risk of further disasters. Like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.